Mick Schumacher joined Haas for the 2021 season alongside a very famous teammate in Mazepin. Mick dominated his teammate, but the car that season was dreadful and he had no chance to show the true talent that he did in the junior formulas. Haas did not put any focus on the 2021 car. Instead, they decided they would put all of their time and effort developing the 2022 car for the new regulations. Mick would then have much more experience and better teammate in Kevin Magnussen for 2022, which will allow him to assess where his pace is and see how good he really is. The car at the start of the season was top of the midfield, but Mick did not score points until around the halfway mark of the season. Haas also saw him wreck the car on too many occasions, and they decided to drop the youngster with bags of potential for an old Nico Hulkenberg. Sorry, Nico. Mick has taken up the third driver role at Mercedes and is also a reserve driver for McLaren. Mick has taken up the third driver role at Mercedes and is also a reserve driver for McLaren too if they need him if Norris or Piastri cannot take part in any sessions. In today's video, we are going to talk about Mick Schumacher's career so far at Haas for 2 years. Did he deserve to be replaced? Was the Mercedes the right choice? And how he is taking many chances as possible to get back into a main seat as soon as possible. Let's get right into it. To start off with, we are going to explore how well or poorly Mick Schumacher performed at Haas in both 2021 and 2022. Mick won the 2022 Formula 2 season, and this warranted him a drive in Formula 1, which he got at Haas, who was the slowest team on the grid, but at any chance to get into Formula 1, most drivers will take it up. Haas put no effort into their 2021 Challenger, meaning that it was the worst car on the grid and the team would take no points, and they were static with getting out of Q1. Mick would only have his teammate in Mazepin to beat, who was poor to say the least with his lack of pace. Mick would wipe the floor with Mazepin and would beat him in the driver standings, which is all you can ask for from a driver who had the worst car on the grid and is the very first port of call. However, it was not all positive for Mick in his debut season, as he would have several crashes that would cost the team a lot of money. Granted, he was a rookie in 2021 and has been given the benefit of the doubt as he is bound to make mistakes, but it was very costly for the team. Haas is not a very rich team at all, and if they are spending millions on building new chassis, it will hurt the team massively in the long run. But Haas expected Mick to improve in 2022 and not have as many crashes as he was now used to the sport. However, this was not the case at all, and Mick, yes, would score his first ever podium points for the team, but he would be beaten by his much more experienced teammate in Kevin Magnussen. Kevin would jump into the car and be back into the sport just days before the Bahrain Grand Prix. And he would dominate Mick in the race and go on to finish P5 whilst Mick finished in P11. Mick would also continue having several big shunts in both Saudi Arabia and Monaco, which both smashed the car up into half, costing the team millions, which annoyed the team. Mick did stop having these crashes in the second half of the season, but overall he would get beat in the standing by his teammate, and this was mainly due to him not being able to perform on the early points of the season when the car was at its best. What are your thoughts on Mick Schumacher's 2 years at Haas? Were they a success or were they a failure? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Now, on to if Mick did deserve to actually be replaced for the 2023 season, leaving him out of the sport due to how late it was being announced. Well, the short answer is yes, but also no, due to who was replacing him. With Haas being a team who struggles to reach the cost cap, they have to use all their resources wisely, and having Mick, who is young and prone to make mistakes and crash, it was very risky. However, with Mick being so young, he has a lot of potential, and if he was given time, he will become a very good driver once he has enough experience under his belt. But if Haas isn't going to let him make any errors, why would they sign him up in the first place, as any young driver makes errors, even Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton did in their first few years in the sport. Haas thought it'd be a good idea to replace Mick with a nearly 40-year-old Nico Hulkenberg, who will be reliable, yes, but has no real potential at all due to him being so old. Haas now goes into the future with two older drivers who would do the basics well, but not be in for the future of the team. But Mick was that. and having one of the young and one older driver in this sport normally does very well. However, Haas needed performances now to help them stay in the midfield, and Mick was simply not providing them with that. So they went with someone who will perform and knows how to in the midfield. It is hard to say if Mick deserved to lose this spot, but most fans are very 50-50 on the matter regarding how it ended with him in Haas. Mercedes in 2023 was without a third and reserve driver due to Nick de Vries joining AlphaTauri to partner Yuki Tsunoda, but this meant they needed someone to take the role who was either young and hungry or someone who was more experienced. There were rumours of Daniel Ricciardo joining the team, but he went to Red Bull and Mercedes decided to take on Mick Schumacher as their reserve driver for the time being. This is massive for Mick, as no offence to Haas, he goes from a very small team to a team where he can build his skills and become a much more complete driver as a whole. He'll be able to work in a lot in the simulator in world-class facilities and be able to see where his pace is compared to Hamilton and Russell. Working in the factory, he will be able to just become better rather than sitting on the sidelines. He is still active around the sport and will be seen a lot in the paddock. He, of course, will be able to work with one of the best drivers ever in Lewis Hamilton and another young driver in George Russell, and they will help Mick too. Mick will also more than likely take part in a couple of free practice sessions in a Mercedes, which will be essential in him gaining that confidence once again. Mick is taking his chances by doing this, as he is putting himself in a shop window by becoming better behind the scenes, but will also possibly have the chance to drive a Mercedes if he is lucky, which could instantly give him a seat if he performs well. Just take a look at Nick de Vries has done. Mick will also be a possible reserve driver of McLaren too, which will once again give him a bigger drive to drive a Formula 1 car in 2023, which will again give him more chances to get back into the sport. There is no doubt that Mick was disappointed with being let go by Haas, but with him taking all of these roles at some top teams, he will give himself the best possible chance of driving in Formula 1 once again and proving that he does deserve to have the Schumacher name and follow his dreams of following in his father's footsteps. But we want to know what are your thoughts on Mick Schumacher and his chance of getting back into a main seat in Formula 1. Will taking up all of these roles help him and will he be back in a seat for 2023? Or do you think that he just does not have the talent and capabilities to be given a second chance in this brutal sport? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Thank you for watching this video and make sure that you hit that like button and subscribe for even more awesome Formula 1 content.